April 18, 1943. 27,000 feet above Bougainville, the Solomon Islands. The air is thin, biting cold, and the Pacific stretches endlessly below, a vast sheet of turquoise and silver. 8 twin-boomed American fighters glide through scattered clouds, engines humming in perfect sync. At the head of the formation sits Captain Richard Bong, his gloved hands steady on the yoke of his Lockheed P-38 Lightning. He squints against the morning sun. Somewhere out there, flying low over the sea, is a Japanese transport carrying one of the most important men in the empire, Admiral Isaraku Yamamoto, the mastermind of Pearl Harbor. The Americans have decoded his flight plan. Bong and his wingmen are flying straight into legend. But only months earlier, no one believed in the Lightning. The Japanese had laughed when they first saw it, a strange, bulky twin fuselage design, heavier than their sleek A6M0s. Flying coffin, they called it, because they thought it couldn't turn, couldn't climb, and couldn't survive the Pacific's brutal air duels. Even some American pilots agreed. Early models overheated, their engines failed, and pilots cursed them as death traps. But now, in this moment, the flying coffin is cutting through the sky like a blade. Its twin Allison V1710 engines roar at full power, each spitting out over 1,400 horsepower. Beneath its wings hang drop tanks, giving it the range no other Allied fighter can match. The very reason this mission was even possible. Below, the radio crackles to life. Bogies, 10 o'clock, low altitude. Bong's heart kicks into overdrive. He pushes the throttle forward, and the Lightning dives through the clouds, sunlight glinting off its polished aluminum skin. Ahead, 2 Japanese Mitsubishi G4M, Betty, bombers drone steadily toward Bougainville, flanked by 6 Zero escorts, the Empire's best pilots. The Americans fan out in silence. The hunt is on. The Zeros spot them seconds too late. The sky erupts in twisting contrails and gunfire. The Lightning's .50 caliber machine guns chatter, bright orange traces stitching across the sky. 1 Zero bursts into flame, spinning helplessly toward the ocean. Another tries to loop behind Bong's tail, but the P-38 isn't the sluggish beast they remember. Bong yanks the yoke, the twin booms slicing through a high-speed roll the Zeros can't match. He squeezes the trigger again. The Zero explodes into a fireball, pieces tumbling through the sunlight. Within minutes, both bombers are smoking wrecks, plunging toward the jungle below. On the ground, Japanese soldiers stare upward in disbelief. Their commander, Yamamoto, is dead, killed by a flying coffin. That day, the myth of Japanese air superiority began to crumble. And Richard Bong, the quiet farm boy from Wisconsin, became the face of America's most feared interceptor. But this was only the beginning. The Japanese high command couldn't understand how a plane they mocked had suddenly become unstoppable. In the months to come, they would learn the answer, the hard way. The tropical heat rises in shimmering waves from the jungle canopy as the rumble of distant engines grows louder. On the dirt runway at Dobodira airstrip, P-38 Lightnings sit lined like silver predators, their shark-like noses gleaming under the sun. Ground crews hustle, checking ammo belts, wiping oil leaks, tightening bolts. Every second matters. Captain Richard Bong wipes the sweat from his brow, helmet under one arm, a calm smile crossing his face. Around him, younger pilots glance at him like a living talisman. By now, he's an ace several times over. 20 confirmed kills, all in the same aircraft the Japanese once dismissed as a death trap. But Bong knows better. The flying coffin is no longer a joke. It's an executioner. He climbs into the cockpit, straps in, and gives a quick thumbs up to his crew chief. The twin Allison engines growl to life, the propellers slicing the air into twin hurricanes. Then, one by one, the Lightnings lift off the runway, their twin tails gleaming against the brilliant blue. Above the humid clouds, Bong scans the horizon. His radar isn't electronic, it's instinct. He feels the air war like a sixth sense, the smell of burning oil, the shimmer of distant wings. Suddenly, the radio crackles. Greater than, bandits, Angels 15, coming from Rabaul. A squadron of Japanese A6M-0s appears, their formation tight, their pilots confident. These are veterans, men who once dominated the skies over the Pacific. They've heard the stories of the P-38, but they don't believe them. To them, American pilots are clumsy, undisciplined, and slow. They dive in, laughing through their oxygen masks. But laughter dies fast at 400 miles per hour. The P-38 split apart in a coordinated maneuver, something the single-engine Zeros can't imitate. Bong and his wingman pull into a climbing spiral, trading speed for altitude. The Zeros follow, and that's when the Lightning's secret weapon strikes. At high altitude, the Zero's engines gasp for oxygen. The P-38's turbo superchargers roar instead. Bong flips his plane over, drops the nose, and comes down like a thunderbolt. His guns blaze, 4.50 cals and a 20mm cannon mounted in the nose, perfectly aligned for deadly accuracy. One Zero disintegrates, another spirals out, trailing black smoke. The radio fills with desperate Japanese chatter. The too fast, too high. What began as mockery now turns to panic. On the ground, captured Japanese reports later revealed a bitter realization. Greater than, the twin-boomed aircraft we laughed at, now owns the sky. As Bong and his fellow aces rack up victory after victory, Maguire, Johnson, Lynch, the balance of air power tilts. The once invincible Zeros fall like leaves. Each mission ends the same way: empty runways, silent enemy bases, and smoking wrecks scattered across island jungles. But the Lightning's story wasn't just about power. It was about transformation, from ridicule to reverence, from fear to faith. And soon, its reputation would spread all the way to Tokyo. Because the Americans weren't just winning dogfights. They were rewriting the laws of the Pacific sky. The air above laid shimmers with heat and cordite. Below, the sea is alive with war. US ships hammering Japanese positions, black columns of smoke curling into the clouds. High above the chaos, silver streaks flash through the sunlight, P-38 Lightnings, hunting once more. Captain Richard Bong leads the formation, his eyes scanning the horizon. By now, his name is whispered even among Japanese pilots, the White Devil of the Sky. He's credited with more kills than any other American pilot, soon to be 40 confirmed victories. But Bong isn't chasing numbers. He's chasing survival. The Japanese, desperate to stop the American advance, have unleashed their most skilled and fanatical airmen. They fly Zeros, Ki-43 Oscars, and Ki-61 Tonys, swarming in furious packs. Some now dive on American bombers not to dogfight, but to die. Kamikaze, they call it. Divine wind. For the pilots of the P-38, there's no room for error, no second chances. Bong checks his ammo. The smell of oil and sweat fills his mask. His wingman, Tommy, Lynch, crackles over the radio, bandits, 2 o'clock high. The Lightnings bank hard into the sun, engines screaming. Below, the Zeros rise from the haze like silver ghosts, eager to avenge their fallen comrades. But they're up against a machine evolved for domination. The P-38 climbs effortlessly, the turbochargers pushing it higher, faster. Then, a flash. Traces zip past Bong's wing. He rolls sharply, flips inverted, and drops behind a Zero that overshot him. The Lightning's nose guns blaze. 1 second burst, and the Zero erupts into flame, fragments raining into the sea. Another Zero swings onto Bong's tail. He can feel the rounds hammering against his fuselage. Bong jerks the control column, dives toward the waves, then climbs in a vertical split S, a maneuver no Zero can follow without tearing its wings apart. He loops behind the attacker and fires. Silence. Smoke. Another kill. For a moment, the sky is empty, just the deep blue of the Pacific and the pulse of twin engines. Below, on the deck of a Japanese cruiser, officers stare upward through binoculars. The same plane they had once derided as slow and fragile now dances through their elite like a phantom. One officer mutters bitterly, "That coffin is now a dragon." By the end of 1944, the Lightning's legend is sealed. It has fought from Alaska's frozen skies to the steaming jungles of the Philippines. It has destroyed thousands of Japanese aircraft, escorted bombers deep into enemy territory, and even assassinated the architect of Pearl Harbor. And yet, through all the fire and fear, the P-38 remained a paradox, graceful yet deadly, heavy yet agile, mocked, then feared. In Bong's hands, it became something more than metal and fuel. It became a symbol of ingenuity, courage, and the quiet defiance of those who refused to be defined by mockery. As the war draws to its end, Bong returns home a national hero. But his story, like his aircraft, carries both triumph and tragedy. For not long after the war's end, he would take one final flight that the world would never forget. The morning sun rises over the Lockheed Air Terminal, spilling gold light across the hangars. Mechanics move between rows of gleaming aircraft, the next generation of American aviation. Jet engines, once a dream, now scream to life on the test stands. The world has changed. The age of propellers is ending. In a crisp tan uniform, Major Richard Bong, America's top ace, stands by the sleek shape of a new aircraft, the P-80 Shooting Star, the U.S. Army's first operational jet fighter. It's his new assignment. He's here not as a warrior, but as a test pilot, a man whose courage is now measured not in kills, but in risk. He runs a hand along the smooth metal fuselage. No twin booms, no propellers, just the whisper of possibility. At the same time, half a world away, another aircraft is climbing into the sky, the Enola Gay, carrying the first atomic bomb toward Hiroshima. History is turning on two wings that morning, one bringing the end of war, the other carrying the legend of the man who helped win it. Bong climbs into the cockpit. The jet engine whines behind him, new and unpredictable. As the canopy closes, he glances at the horizon, that endless sky that had once been his battlefield, his cathedral, and his home. The tower clears him for takeoff. Throttle forward. Acceleration. The runway blurs beneath him, and for a brief, beautiful moment, he's airborne once again. Then, silence. Witnesses later say the engine flamed out. Bong tried to eject, but the aircraft rolled, slammed into the ground, and exploded in a white fireball. He was 24 years old. At that same hour, thousands of miles away, the atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima. The age of the fighter ace, of personal jewels in the sky, ended with him. But his legend didn't die. In towns across America, newspapers printed his photo, the quiet farm boy from Wisconsin who flew a plane everyone laughed at, until it rewrote the war. His P-38, the so-called flying coffin, had outflown, outgunned, and outlasted Japan's best. It had turned mockery into mastery, fear into fame. The Japanese had called it foolish. History called it unstoppable. And in the eternal silence of the Pacific skies, where the wreckage of Zeros still lies buried beneath coral and time, you can almost imagine the faint echo of two engines, the Lightning, streaking toward the horizon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. And make sure to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.